So I'll bring us into My Hero Academia, chapter 258. So in this chapter, we see the events leading up to the day the heroes disappeared from the streets. Hawks is able to gather intel on the paranormal liberation front from Twice. He learns the identities of all members and that they are split into 4 units. He deduces that their plan is the annihilation of heroes. They will attack cities to create anarchy, then Destro's party leaders will take power and call for the independence to enable self-defense. Ultimately, the Japanese government would lose authority. Hawks realizes that Twice has become one of the most dangerous villains, but is a good-hearted person. Twice then reveals that Shigaraki has been powering up in the mountains for the past 4 months, and in a preemptive strike, the pro-heroes attack the Paranormal Liberation Front at the mountains. The chapter ends with the UA students beginning to evacuate the citizens of the nearby cities. So I guess the questions I really wanted to get out of this were, so obviously we're starting to see the implications of all the heroes being gone. Seems like they're going to be fighting this Paranormal Liberation Front. I guess in this episode you kind of think that, I guess I'm kind of torn where Hawk is at. Is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? He talks about, hey, if the Paranormal Liberation, if they attack first, then we're done for. So he makes it seem like, hey, we, the heroes, are done for. But he's still helping them out a lot. And so that's just one of the questions that I had. So obviously they very quickly brush up on Shigaraki, saying he's been powering up for the past 4 months. So, where is that going to take us into the future? And he's been powering up in the mountains, which is, I don't know, just strange. And then, with Twice? So Twice has grown an affinity towards Hawk. So, could Twice be able to, switch sides? Or is he going to start to side with Hawk because they're really growing this kind of bond and this friendship towards each other? Could we see, more of a character arc with Twice? Because we've seen all of his issues with duality. I mean, that's kind of really where his character, a lot of the metaphorical and the actual dealings with his being, where when he splits and they had to grow different ideologies and so forth. And so it's he's definitely a very interesting character, and I'm more interested to see where he's going to go. And I feel like they've been playing him into a much bigger role when we talk more about the the Liberation Front or the League of Villains, also why they changed that name, and so forth. So
PR, dude.
Yeah, all political.
Everything. Nobody wants the villain League of Villains, to come help them, but the Liberation Front, comrade, take down the proletariat. You know what I'm saying?
Well, so yeah, so I guess what was it? So what was the first question that I even had? It was,
you were talking about Hawks.
Yeah.
Hawks. Yeah. So I this may just be my thought, but I feel like he's given us, because he's done a lot of these back and forths about Hawk playing the bad guy super well, but showing internal thoughts still being good. I think I'm pretty dead set on him definitely being good. He's absolutely good. He's just he's deep undercover. You got to play the game.
Yeah, there was some questions earlier in past chapters about his allegiance, but within the last few, I think it became very clear that he is definitely on the side of the heroes.
I mean, he was able to get the villains' identities and group names and all that in a month. I mean, he wouldn't have gotten that if he wasn't providing it.
And even before that, he was able to, I think the moment that it solidified him being a good guy for me was when he handed Endeavor the coded messages.
Yeah.
So I think the author has shown us so much that, he may be, I think he's really trying to put off that he is a very intelligent hero. If anything, he may not be the strongest, but he may be one of the smartest characters, just because he's able to play that role so well of the villain, and it may end up benefiting us, like what you were saying, rolling into the Twice debacle with his like duality and everything. I definitely think they are setting him up to be a bigger character.
Yeah.
And interested to see where it goes. I'm not sold just yet on whether he's going to be a good guy. I think the mirrors between him and like a Deadpool-esque character are pretty funny. Like how he's, like he reminds me of Deadpool so much. But and he's definitely a likable character. But I don't know necessarily if he's going to be someone who switches over to the good guys just yet. But I did think that was a really awesome part where it was acknowledged that he is like one of the most scary villains.
A good dude. Yeah. I was gonna ask you guys. I understand that like we've seen like after awakening his quirk, he was able to create his copies, and his copies made copies, and he had like an army of him. But those the image that was in the backdrop of those dialogue bubbles, I don't understand what he's referring to that just made him the most dangerous. Like what?
Oh, so he's saying the fact that he is comfortable now with making that many copies, the fact that he's broken through and kind of unlocked that power again. That power, if you think about it, he is an army. Like when you're talking about someone who's worth like X number of soldiers, from what I got from that power is he makes copies. And he can do that with anything, right? Like not just
other
himself. So he'll be able to copy other people with their powers and their copies making copies. Like he can make an army of whatever person he wanted to, multiple people, honestly.
Okay.
So the scariest thing he did was remember in the fight against Redestro, he went on ahead to the base and he created a copy of every one of the League of Villains, right? And one of his strengths is that he's so tight with his comrades that he's able to create such lifelike representations that his copy of Shigaraki was able to think exactly like the real Shigaraki and do what he would have done. And that allowed him to predict when the real Shigaraki would come in at the perfect timing, right? Because he the copy destroyed the building or something at the perfect time, because he understood him so well that he was able to create a copy that would do exactly what the real one would do.
Were the copies able to use the quirks of the original people?
I think so. It wasn't as strong, but I think they were able to.
I think it's the quirk gets progressively less powerful, or it gets less attached, so to speak.
But that's an incredible power. I mean, if you think about it, now that he's comfortable, so that
makes more sense.
Yeah, it acknowledged the fact that he himself. I mean, if you were ranking League of Villain members, I would put him possibly top 3 now, right? With Todoroki and the Blue Flame. Slipping off blanking off him.
Adabi,
yeah.
I mean, the more number of people they have, the more powerful he is. So easily.
I guess the only thing that had me wondering about it was the wording. Him saying, he's the one you have to most. You just went to the most dangerous. I mean, I guess Hawk didn't fully see Shigaraki's potential, or what Shigaraki did with his fight with Redestro. But I mean, even if Twice can make armies like that, I mean, I feel like anybody who saw what Shigaraki was capable of, it kind of negates that.
Well, so now I guess so my thing is I don't think that Twice is as strong as Black Sperm. Because, I know, granted, it's 2 different mangas, obviously, but
I was like,
I was gonna say
no, but I mean, but you think they really arguably have some very similar, what's it called, quirks, abilities, and whatnot. But with Twice, it's you only have to get hit so hard for it to disappear, and so I mean, granted, you're saying that he's definitely one of the strongest. He is, but it really kind of just depends on. Now we don't know how hard you got to hit that.
It's the matchup.
Yeah,
it's all about the matchup.
It's his potential, because he doesn't know how strong he is right now, but he has the potential to be OP.
Yeah, but it's at that same thing where the reason why he never wanted to duplicate himself was because of that whole, I don't know if I'm even the real one.
Well,
and then once he gets hit badly enough, he's like, oh wait, if I was a duplicate, I would have been gone by now. So now I know, and that's how he like realized his power. But like that's also a thing where he doesn't want to make his copies be able to withstand so much. So then he loses that, he loses his sanity yet again.
I don't think he can make them do that. I think that they're already preset. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean, I get what you're saying, but we don't know if that's, like he can take his quirk to the next level and they could be like indestructible forces, right? Like,
well, he already awakened his quirk, right? Do we? And I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't know. I don't think we've been introduced yet. And I say yet because I think this will be something kind of just like Dragon Ball Z and all the others, like a second awakening, but we haven't heard or been introduced to anything like that. So as far as we know, like he's already maxed his, he's had his major level up, so to speak.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I think we are definitely going to see quirks be able to progress past that first awakening. I think, because if you look at someone like Endeavor, who has a bunch of stuff, obviously at certain points throughout his life, there would be awakened quirks to where he can do new stuff.
He was just born like that.
Right, yeah. I mean, he's blasting everything. Right. This is hot tamale,
Okay. Well, so we talked about it twice. So I guess the next thing would be... so Shigaraki's been up in the mountain for 4 months. So I guess where they had said that in the chapter was, so they had skipped up to 3 months in advance, and then they jumped back 2 months, and then they went forward a month. So he's been in the mountains. So from the last chapter, so I guess at the end of last chapter, he'd been in the mountains for 2 months, and so I guess. What do you think is going to be going on with him? Obviously, he's gaining all for one. I think that's kind of obviously the gist of that. But we never heard about this base out in the mountains or anything like that. So
I imagine he's doing something similar to me. Bulking, building up his power level in the mountains, taking in that mountain air.
Protein, creatine, the whole
protein, creatine. He's just got an IV of both.
But so I think, they say 4 months, right? So when the heroes attack, it must mean that he's going to be still in the middle of that, and he's not going to be ready yet. So it seems like it's really setting up like a huge battle between the heroes and the Paranormal Liberation Front, and then, at some point later in the battle, Shigaraki's just going to come out and make an anime entrance and just destroy and just like completely flip the course of the battle. He's gonna have all for one, and then that's the other thing. Like, this is the first time I really don't know who's gonna win. I mean, I feel like Shigaraki's gonna win this.
I'm leaning more and more towards that dark period that we talked.
So I guess
it's teased a lot this chapter.
I was wondering if so with the all for one, is he automatically gonna, like, if he gets that power, can he just get a bunch of quirks, or do we know if they're gonna, like, do you guys think he'll have to build up?
I think he gets all the quirks with it, right?
Well, I don't know if that's like a set.
I don't know
if he'll get a bunch of them at once, or if it'll be something similar like a Midoriya type growth, where if he gets a few powers at first, and then we keep seeing him with more and more powers. Because if it's that way, I could see Shigaraki losing. But if he gets all of the all for one, I definitely could see him propelling it into like a dark age.
So now you gotta remember, he's up in the mountains with the guy that is creating the Nomus. So you can assume, and we've only seen the weak Nomus in their terms. So we can assume that there are powers or quirks that are stockpiled up in that base. So. Right. I'm going to assume that there are more quirks that he's going to attain, but I don't think he'll know how to use them to their full extent. So I think he'll be, big and like big Yaki or whatever you want to call it. Like,
big Yaki.
Doesn't have
a Y in his name.
Sounds like a supersized hibachi diner.
Big Rocky, that's what it is. Yeah, the Rocky, you know what I'm talking about? Like Dwayne the Rocky Johnson, like
Big Rocky.
Big Rogi sounds like a delicious pierogi.
So I feel like he'll have other quirks, but he won't have had the awakening with them, or like he won't be able to use them to their full extent. Kind of like Midoriya is now learning these other quirks, and he can like use the whips for like a couple seconds at a time, or something like that. I feel like so. I guess what I would think is that Hawk, like you guys were saying, he's on the good side. He's gonna inform the heroes, and that's why they're building up this front, evacuating the cities, doing all these things. They're gonna go attack, and they're gonna wipe out most of the liberation front, and then Shigaraki's gonna come in, lay down the hammer, and be like, and then basically force them to retreat, and so then both sides kind of move back, and then we'll go into a whole like planning phase, and that'll take up another like 10 to 15 chapters and blah blah blah, and so then we'll start to build up the Shigaraki his kind of arc of gaining all for one. I think that's where it's gonna go.
I could see that. I could also see, now we don't know that these 4 months in the mountain are just like that he has to spend those 4 months attaining all for one. Like, we don't know that it's a 4-month process, so I could see the exact same scenario playing out, but when Shigaraki shows up, he is totally different level now, where like those 4 months were him gaining all for one, learning it, like how to use it, and we see him brought in as like this, he's the new like big baddie,
Yeah, I mean, I think that's exactly what's going to happen pretty much. Like, I mean, this is, I think, an unprecedented conflict in the series. It's the first large scale battle we've had, and it's the first real existential crisis. I mean, you can argue that if All for One had beaten All Might, then it would have been really bad. There would have been no one who could stop that villain. But I think this is really the first large scale existential crisis that they've had to society breaking down.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also the first one where I really don't know who's going to win, because I could definitely, they teased the Dark Era, they teased the plan. I could easily see Shigaraki winning, and then he won't completely succeed in like killing all the heroes or eradicating all the heroes, but I can see a power shift where the government breaks down, and then it's more of an even structure, more of like a mafia-esque rule of law type thing, where they have to coexist somehow, but the power balance has shifted, and then that could somehow proceed towards the Dark Era where Shigaraki takes full control. That's kind of where I see this going.
I could definitely see that.
That's a good one.
Okay, so I guess so. I mean, that's kind of like the all really much to discuss. I think we'll see in the next chapter. I mean, we kind of go over that briefly, what we'll think will happen in the next chapter. I think it'll be mostly, we'll get like Deku and all them evacuating the cities, that type of stuff, kind of more prep for this big battle. I think we'll have prep for probably another 2 to 3 chapters, just to kind of get ready to like see all the sides of, I think we'll see the UA students, because they just got back from spring break. So I mean, so we'll see that, and then I think we'll see. Hopefully, we'll see a little bit of Shigaraki before he just like comes in and lays the hammer down. But I have a feeling we won't.
I don't think
That's
so.
a big reveal. That's a big reveal.
Yeah, I feel like they're gonna leave
Big
it
reveal.
to hey, like Dwayne the Rocky Johnson is gonna come in and lay down the hammer. So
He's just buff after being that twig for the longest time. He's just been lifted.
It's gonna be like a Naruto on top of Gamakichi, appearing to face down Pain, except it's gonna be a bad guy. And it's like, oh crap! Like he's gonna completely. Like,
But we're still gonna be like,
this guy's gonna win. Like he's on the wrong side. Like.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to another episode from Off the Stoop. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more epic content as we dive deeper into these chapters. You can follow us at Off the Stoop on our socials to see funny memes and to also know when our videos go live. Thanks and have a great day.